So, for those of you who follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you know that I made a couple of posts about this Kenneka Jenkins situation around the time of the incident. And for those of you who follow me on those pages, you know my thoughts about this, you know how I feel about it, and why I've waited so long to do this video. You know that I was debating whether or not I even wanted to do this video. And I'm just going to say this real quick before I get into this story. And some of you are not going to like what I'm about to say. But you know me, I'm going to say it anyway. I do not make videos on every story that's hot off the press, okay? I don't make videos just because the story is popular or because it's trending on Twitter. Let's get that clear first. I'm not that kind of YouTuber, especially when it comes to very strange cases like this one and cases that, you know, just really disturb me on a personal level. I just like to wait until more facts or evidence come out. I like to, you know, give myself enough time to formulate my thoughts and my opinions and my feelings. I don't just immediately jump on a story because it's trending at that time. You know, I know there are people who like to do that, you know, to get views. You know, I know that people like to, you know, jump on a story immediately when it comes out so they can be the first person who reports it. You know, I don't knock other YouTubers for doing it. I listen to people who do that, especially if their content is good. But I personally have never been that kind of content creator, and I never will be. So I really want you guys to understand that. Also, there are plenty of things that I discuss between my videos on my other social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. And this story was one of them. So before you people come to my page, you know, under my videos and accuse me of not caring enough to speak on something, I'm going to need you to do your research and check my other accounts. That is, if you want to hear from me that badly, you need to check my other accounts to see if I'm saying something that I haven't yet stated in a video. I'm not just on YouTube, nor do I feel obligated to speak on every, you know, strange death of a black person or a black woman. And I don't feel obligated to immediately speak on them, especially, you know, when I feel I don't have enough information or if I'm very uncertain of how I feel about it, like I am with this case. You know, I've talked about Sandra Bland, I've talked about Corinne Gaines, I've talked about other black women. And frankly, I'm just tired, you guys. I'm tired of all of the fake outrage, you know, when black people die under strange and unfortunate circumstances, you know, and then when our cases aren't handled properly, we want to cry about it all over social media. But, you know, when they're alive, and those of us black people who are alive, when we talk about solutions and, you know, getting in positions of power to prevent that from happening, you know, to prevent our cases from being mishandled, nobody wants to hear that kind of conversation. You know, nobody wants to have that conversation. And anytime we talk about that kind of thing, it's considered to be too militant or regressive or divisive. You know, just like a woman said in my group, we care more about black people when they're dead versus when they're alive. And, you know, all we're going to keep doing, you know, when things like this happen is, you know, keep complaining about it. We're going to keep complaining about the criminal justice system handling our cases poorly without taking any real collective action as black people to change it and, you know, to prevent it from happening again. And some people would say, oh, well, we don't have enough power for that. Well, if we don't have enough power and it's too late to change that because, you know, white people own everything, then why are we still talking about it every time something like this happens? You know, it's interesting to me how black people will put more effort. They have put more effort into trying to solve this young woman's death, putting together all these conspiracy theories. They put more time into that than they try to actually improve their condition as a people so that they can be in the position to protect the interest of their people when something happens to them. I find that very interesting. And this case in particular is just, it's very disturbing to me. It's very discouraging, and it just makes me painfully aware of black people's lack of systemic power, lack of legal power, political power, you know, when it comes to getting these cases thoroughly investigated. Okay. And when it happened, I just immediately thought of my 17-year-old niece. And if you follow me on Facebook, you know this already. But I had a long talk with my niece about this. And I had a talk with her about, going to parties and getting drunk and doing drugs and just going to places with friends, choosing her friends wisely. And, I gave her the same advice that my mother gave me about always staying together when you go somewhere with your friends, never separate. My mother always told me never separate when you go somewhere. She always said, you go places together, you stay together. And if you have to separate in twos or threes. Cause I had like a huge group of friends when I was younger, still do, and my niece is the same way. So, I do believe 100% that Kenneka's friends, were not looking out for her like they should have been. Do I believe the story about her friend setting her up to get raped by some niggas for $200? I don't know, but is it possible? Yes. Do I believe that she was a victim of organ trafficking or sex trafficking, and the hotel is covering it up, the police department is covering it up? I don't know, but is it possible? Yes. Is it possible that her and her friends were prostitutes? And they were there at the hotel doing their thing? Yes, that all of that's possible. It's also possible that she was just so drunk and high, off of Molly or whatever that girl was on, because that was not just alcohol, okay? It's also possible, that she somehow locked herself in a freezer and couldn't get herself out and, maybe passed out or whatever. I don't know. I feel like it's just so many different possible scenarios, and I just don't think we'll ever really know what happened to her. I am completely uncertain on how this young woman died, which is part of the reason, I really didn't want to speak on this. I didn't want to make a video, but this situation is just really sad and it's tragic. I just feel it's disgusting how so many Black people in particular are exploiting her death. You have Black people doing something called the Kenneka challenge, the Irene challenge. I don't know. I didn't even watch the videos. I just saw people were doing it, and it's disgusting and it's embarrassing that you have other Black people, making a mockery of this situation. Then you have Black men speaking on this and trying to rid Black men of any responsibility at all. Since people are saying, she got set up by her friends and she got raped. And so Black men are like, black men didn't rape her, blah, blah, blah. And, if she was raped, she was raped. You coming out trying to, rid Black men of any responsibility to fit your twisted ass narrative. It's just sickening to me. At the end of the day, all of her quote unquote friends that were there, male and female, there are some shitty ass friends. Okay, this is not, to me, a gender situation, and I just feel like her friends were not looking out for her. Do I blame them for her death? Yes, if they had something to do with it. But if they didn't, then no, I don't blame them. But they were still some careless ass friends. I just think it's disgusting how Black people, just like they did with the Corinne Gaines and Sandra Bland, they're just looking for a way. They're looking for somebody to point the finger at. They're trying to blame the victim or solely blame Black women or Black mothers, as if this shit doesn't still happen when the father is in the picture. Like, can we get real about that? This shit goes on regardless. If it's because the father wasn't in her life, then why doesn't he get some of the blame for his absence and not being there to guide this young woman? We can tell by the friends and the mother, that she was most likely raised around some low-life people in a piss-poor environment. Let's just be honest. So that says a lot about the father as well. Why not just blame everybody? Yes, Kenneka could have made better decisions. Yes, her mother could have. Her friends, they all could have made better decisions. But, if y'all refuse to get real about the bigger picture here when it comes to, our condition as Black people, our culture, our lack of power, and just our lack of vested interest in our people. If we don't want to get real about that and really have a real conversation about that, there's really nothing left to say. Because if the story is true about her friend setting her up for $200, that says a lot about the Black community, okay? It says a lot about the condition of the Black community, about our desperation as Black people, about our economic disparity. Don't get me wrong, what happened to her is not exclusive to the Black community. White people set other white people up for money. They, leave their so-called friends in vulnerable situations. They rape people, they drug people. But, we're also not going to pretend that our economic position doesn't make us more susceptible to these kind of unfortunate situations. More poverty equals more crime, more homicide, more criminal activity, more disease, and so on. We all know that. And since Black culture, as we know it today, was derived from poverty and, a lack of resources, this kind of careless and dysfunctional behavior that we saw displayed with Kenneka and her friends, and even her mother, has unfortunately become a large part of our culture as Black people. Until Black people get off their asses and get serious about changing their position in society, until we get serious about our survival, there's going to be a million more unsolved death mysteries like Kenneka's. And no, I'm not going to do a video on all of them. Sorry. Okay. And no, the FBI, the police department is not going to investigate it properly. And white people aren't coming to the rescue. Like, it's just like we're going in circles at this point. And I'm just tired of Black people, being passive about the solutions. But then when something happens, we're outraged. It's just bullshit. It's the job of Black people to protect Black people. And you will never talk about the solutions the way you talked about the actual death of this girl. And that is the real problem here that nobody wants to get honest about. But I'm supposedly the problem, according to some of you, for waiting so long to make a video on this. And I'm an agent, as one of you put it, for making a Kevin Hart video first. When, how long have I been talking about solutions for the Black community? So fuck out of here with that bullshit. Y'all don't ever care about these women and about these Black people when they're alive. The videos that I actually make about solutions for Black people, look at the views on those compared to my Kevin Hart video. So you can miss me with that bullshit. You can miss me with trying to guilt me, for not making a video on more important things. Y'all don't care about y'all survival like that. After everybody calms down about this Kenneka situation, we're going to go right back to being passive as hell, complacent as fuck, still collectively not taking action, and not serious about mobilizing. I hate to be hard on Black people, but it's the truth. It is what it is. So, the next time something like this happens, because there will be a next time and a next time and a next time, and I don't immediately jump on the story and make a video, now you know why. A lot of you may not agree with that. You may not agree with what I said here, and you may not like it, but that is how I feel. I'm not a news reporting channel. I'm not going to report on every single story. Doesn't mean I don't care. But I'll just take Black people more seriously when they're invested in the actual solutions like they are when one of us dies. So that's all I have to say about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.